Good morning. This is we're here with Bernie today, and we're about to talk about his life history. And let's go back and talk about what life was like before the accident. Tell us how old you were when the original episode occurred, and what was the episode that brought you to SteppingStones, Bernie?
Well, I was 47 years old, and I got in an automobile accident down in Billerica, Massachusetts, where I hit a Jersey barrier, according to the state police, doing 70 miles an hour. I bounced off of that, and I headed northbound in the southbound lane of the highway and proceeded to get in a head-on collision with another vehicle. So we were removed from the vehicles with the jaws of life. I was DOA when they brought me in. I had a broken back, broken neck, broken sternum, broken nose, and a traumatic brain injury. But I was in a coma for the first 3 months after I don't remember the accident. I was in a coma for 3 months before I woke up, and then when I woke up, I had a trach on my neck, a feeding tube, all kinds of. I was in an intensive care unit, so I was like, where am I? So I woke up, I pulled everything out, and then they had to restrain me to the bed with 4-point restraints and put everything back into me, and I was scared. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what happened. But according to the state police, I had been drinking alcohol because my blood alcohol level was at a .28, and then after I woke up, they told me that I was going to have to live in a nursing home for the rest of my life and have full-time medical care. So they wouldn't let me out of the hospital. So I'm an Army veteran, so the VA hospital down in Richmond, Virginia accepted me into a traumatic brain injury outpatient clinic. So they flew me down to Virginia, and I went into that clinic with all these kids that just come back from Iraq, and it was a pretty bad place because they were missing legs, missing arms, half their heads were blown off, and I didn't think I should have been there. But because of the injury that I had, they said, yeah, you should be here. So every day of the week they drove me nuts, just asking me questions like, what day is today? What's today's date? What's the president's name? Where are you? Why are you here? And after a while, I was like, these people are gone. But I realize now what they were doing was trying to get my brain to work and to answer questions and think about where I am and what I'm doing. And I was down there for 6 months. You know, they gave me a map of the hospital, and I had a full-time schedule from 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. I had different appointments. I had to be to speech therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, physical therapy. So I took care of all that stuff, and I guess I graduated. So they sent me home. And when I come back to New Hampshire, this woman named Judy Sullivan from the Brain Injury Association of New Hampshire came to my house.
So you still had a home here to come back to?
No, I went to my mother's house. No, I lost everything. I lost my job, I lost my apartment, my motor vehicle. Yeah.
Before you go on, can you talk a little bit about what you had before? What your life was like before the injury?
Yeah. My life before the injury, I was making $72,000 a year doing HVAC service work. I had my own place in a nice apartment place with swimming pool, health club, all that. Couple of vehicles, and everything was great, you know.
What about your social?
My social life, I went out to eat 3 times a day and went out every night of the week because I'm a bachelor and I was just living the way I wanted to live. And
living a good life, as they say. Is that correct?
living a good life? I wouldn't say it was a good life as far as I was concerned. As far as other people were concerned, they didn't think it was. They all thought that I was out drinking too much, smoking too much pot, and doing all that stuff, but I never thought there was anything wrong with any of that. I thought everybody lived like that. And, you know, I get up and went to work every day. I worked hard, so I played hard, and I did my thing, and the result of it was getting into this car accident because, according to the state troopers, you know, I was intoxicated, and that's what caused the accident, and that's why I got hurt. And
do you disagree?
no, I agree, because now I'm court ordered to go to Alcoholics Anonymous every night of the week. So I go to that, and I go to the Krempels Brain Injury Foundation, and I go to my Veterans Administration appointments. I have a neurologist, I have a general practitioner, and they're all telling me, don't go back to work, don't climb ladders, don't do nothing, don't do this, don't do that. But I'm just doing what I want to do, you know. I know what I do. I know what I went to college for. I know how to do what I was doing. So I'm back into doing it, you know. I have my own business again because I couldn't go back to work for the company I was working for because they took my license in Massachusetts. So I'm like, I can't go back there.
Would you say you're angry today, or are you satisfied? Are you? How do you describe your general attitude toward life at this point?
My general attitude toward life is great. I'm glad I'm alive. I'm glad I'm healthy. I'm glad I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm glad I'm not stuck in a nursing home. You know, I get up every day and I thank God that I'm alive and that I'm healthy, and I just go about my business. You know, usually on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I come to the day of Krempels Brain Injury Foundation, and every day at noon I go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and usually every night I'll stop in at one. You know, and because I know that the alcohol will end up killing me the next time. Because my neurologist told me that because of the head injury I sustained, I'm at a high percentage to have a stroke or an aneurysm if I use alcohol or drugs. So I figure, what the hell, I don't want to test him. You know, I'm lucky I'm alive. And that's how I feel about that whole situation. So I'm back to work. And
you mentioned you were 47 when the original accident occurred. How old are you today, Bertie?
Today I don't know, 48.
So this is about a year ago?
Yeah, the accident was last April of 04.
And you were in the hospital roughly 6 months in Virginia, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're back at home, or back in your home area at this point?
Yes.
Describe to us, you know, you've told us what life is like, going to AA meetings, Krempels Foundation. You're not working today. How are you supporting yourself at this point?
I opened my own business doing heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and I'm out passing out business cards and trying to get work. I got a few things going on, but nothing major. So,
do you find that to be a difficult task to do, or do you find it easy to go back into working world? Is it slow to happen to you?
No, everything seems to be working the way it did before. I haven't forgotten my trade or any of my steps in troubleshooting or systematically repairing these systems. Everything seems to be going the same way it always did.
And is transportation an issue for you whatsoever on a daily basis? Do you drive right now, for example?
Yes, I drive. I have my license up in New Hampshire, and I have my service vehicle and everything.
How about your friends that you used to be friends with when the accident occurred? Do you still see those people, or
I don't see any
life
of my
changed?
I don't see any of my old friends or hang around with any of them because I have to change.
Is that your choice or just circumstances?
Well, it's the
cause
choice. It's the way it's going with the Alcoholics Anonymous. It's all about, that program is all about change. You have to change who you hung around with, where you went, what you did. So I don't hang around with my old friends or the old establishments I used to go to. I won't end up being in another car crash, I guess, you know.
Do you find that difficult on your basis? Do you find that hard to make the changes
No,
in your life?
I know it's necessary that I make them. It's a matter of life and death in my mind, and that's how I think about it. If I go back to the way I was, I'll be dead. And I like living now. You know, I always like to live, but it seems to be getting better. It gets better every day.
Do you recall any of your memories when you were in the coma? Do you recall ever being in the coma at all, having dreams in the coma, or waking up gradually, or is that all blank at this point?
The only thing I remember is when I woke up from my coma, there was a big book from Alcoholics Anonymous on my chest. And I said to the nurse, "Did somebody lose their book?" And she said, "I'm giving you that book because it's a miracle that you survived this accident. I want you to read that, and maybe you can change your life, and this won't happen to you, or you won't end up killing somebody else." So I took her advice because I figured she left it because she cared about me. She was, I was messed up when I got to the hospital. I was, I'm lucky I was in a coma for 3 months, I think, because my back healed and my neck healed. And I can physically walk and everything now, and maybe that's what saved me.
So do you, looking back now on the way that, your life was, do you feel like, how do you feel towards it? Is there a difference? Do you feel more successful now? Do you feel like there's things that you wish that you could do before that you can't now, or?
Well, the way my life was before was dysfunctional. I lived a dysfunctional lifestyle, and I just, I was drinking and doing drugs and then hurting my family and my friends, and not even thinking about that stuff because I thought that I was just living like everybody else lived, and now the way I look at it, I want to be healthy, I want to be clean, I want to be sober, I want to make my mother proud of me, because my mother went through so much with this accident. Because a year before the accident, she had lost, my father died, and a year before that, my brother died. So I've been through a lot in the last few years. So it's been like, I gotta be good.
How do you live with your mother at this point, I'm assuming, is that correct?
Yeah.
You and your mother get along very well at this point, or?
Yeah, we get along great.
A new relationship that did not exist before the accident?
No, we always had a relationship, but she always used to complain about my drinking habits and my driving habits, and you're gonna end up killing somebody, you're gonna end up in an accident. And then it happened, because the two people I hit are both permanently disabled. They're in wheelchairs. I don't know him. I never met him, but I seen him when I had to go to court, because I had to go to court after I got back from Virginia. I had to go to the courthouse and see the judge and go through all that, you know.
What was the outcome of that?
The outcome? Well, the court? Well, the judge wanted me to go to jail for 2 years, but then he ended up changing his sentence to time served because I had been in the hospital for so long, and then put me on probation for 2 years. Don't drive in the state of Massachusetts, and don't get in any trouble, because if you do, you're going to go to jail for 2 years. So I got to stay away from there. Don't drink, don't drive, don't go to Massachusetts. So I'm up here in New Hampshire, starting over at 48 years old, you know. It's not easy. Because I used to take home $2,000 a week was my take-home pay. You know, now it's like, I'm lucky if I make, depending on what's happening, I have my own business, I bill out $65 an hour, but I'm not advertising anywhere, and I'm just trying to get started again. I'll make it work. As soon as the weather gets warm, then I'll be calling. That's how I look at it.
What about for when you are out in the community and you are interacting with other people, do you feel as though there are any communication barriers at this point?
No. I'm still a life member at the American Veterans Club in Haverhill, so I go down and do the honor guard stuff for them. I marched in the Christmas Day parade. I marched in the Veterans Day parade. I did the Pearl Harbor ceremonies Sunday. And I know all these guys because I've been in the honor guard since 1984, and they don't see any difference in me, you know. The only thing is, when I go to this stuff, it's all, and with my old friends and everything's all, it's at the Ambec Club, where I used to hang around all the time, so it's like, give me a Diet Coke, you know. I just hope they don't put any booze in them, because I used to drink rum and Coke. Yeah, I just gotta watch everything I do, you know.
You speak very clearly. Do you see any other difficulties, physical difficulties, in memory, or arm movement, or your back problem? Any issues that still trouble you at all at this point?
No. I feel better now than I ever did in my life. I'm lucky.
Well, I think I've heard that from a lot of people who are members of AA. They feel they're better emotionally, just more sober, they in touch with reality, better than where they were before. Tell us a bit about your life at this point. Your life, obviously you changed your friends. You're living with your mother. Do you have any brothers who are alive at this point?
Yeah, I have my brothers and my sisters. My brother Jimmy is a disabled American veteran. He has multiple sclerosis. He's confined to a wheelchair, so I go with him to the wheelchair games and help him in any way I can. As a matter of fact, we're going to Anchorage, Alaska this year for the wheelchair games. Last year we went to Minneapolis, Minnesota for 2 weeks. It was pretty good. There were 580 wheelchair veterans there. And, you know, they get to play sports and compete and win medals, you know, silver, bronze, and gold. It was very good. I had a good time. I became a volunteer when I was there, just to work with everybody and help them. And it worked out good. I felt really good about it.
And was this before the accident or
after the accident?
Great.
Yeah, it was good.
What do you think will happen at this point moving forward? Do you see yourself just gradually improving your memory or your spiritual life or your work life in general?
I think my life is going up. It's getting better every day, and it's just going to continue to get better. You know, if I keep doing the right things, if I keep coming to the brain injury bound, this place is great because I get to see how lucky I really am, because I see other people that have the same injury I had, and they're having a lot more difficult time, you know. So I feel like I'm blessed. It's a miracle I'm alive. It's a miracle I'm here. This place is a miracle, and I'm glad to have it.
Are there any empty points in your life at this point that you're aware of, or that you do miss? Do you miss alcohol, for example? Do you miss not seeing the old former friends?
Well, I go and see my friends because I'm involved with the Havel Boxing Association, and my friend was on the Contenders boxing show, so I'm still involved with that stuff, and I go and see them, and I go to fights, and other than that, everything's going great, you know. Everything's good.
If you had any words of advice for anyone who may be listening to this interview, what would you tell them, or to expect, or what would you tell them to look forward to?
Coming out of a
coma,
coming out of a brain injury, I'd just say, just stay strong and just do it one day at a time and take life as it goes, because it could be worse. You could be 6 feet under.
Very true.
Yeah.
You know.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
Any words of advice or words of wisdom that you may have?
I don't have any words of wisdom. Just one I have from AA is one day at a time. Keep it simple.